Welcome to Fast Career Growth. In previous session, we learned about voice of customer and how voice of customer converted into critical to quality. That is a little bit descriptions about CTQ. In this, we will learn about the detailed learning of critical to quality, that is CTQ, and this is all about me. And the contents of CTQs are what is CTQ, the difference between cost of quality or cost of poor quality, components of quality, how to draw critical to quality tree, CTQ example, benefits of CTQ, Kano model, how to draw Kano model, 5 steps of Kano model. This all contents will be covered in this session. So what is critical to quality? After collecting voice of customer, we need to arrange it into critical to quality characteristics. So voice of customer, voice of business and cost of poor quality data, they then needed to translate this information into critical customer requirement, that is CCR. A CCR is a specific characteristics of the product or service desired by and important to the customer. Take the applicable CCRs and translate them into critical to quality measures. So how CTQ looks, that means voice of customer, voice of business or voice of critical, that is cost of poor quality converted into critical customer requirement, then it is converted into critical to quality. In next slide, we will learn about cost of quality or cost of poor quality. Cost of quality COQ, it covers the expenses or associated with the maintaining a good quality throughout an organization or process. So cost of quality is equal to cost of poor quality plus prevention cost plus appraisal cost. So cost of poor quality, what is cost of poor quality? What is prevention cost? Prevention cost means to make your product defect free. What are the costs associated to that? That becomes your prevention cost. And the appraisal cost is to how to maintain the quality, how to track the quality level of your product. These are the appraisal cost. So what is cost of poor quality? Cost of poor quality, it is usually broken into two major categories: cost associated with external failures, that is warranty, sales loss, etc., and cost associated with internal failures, that is rework or scrap, etc. So what is external and internal failures? External and internal failures are often referred to as cost of non-conformity. They are the expenses that occur when outputs do not conform to critical to quality requirements. So what is cost of poor quality? External failure cost plus internal failure cost. And how you can measure your cost of quality? If your company working at a level of 4 sigma, then it states that 15 to 25% of total sales cost is contributing to your cost of quality. Then if your company is working at a level of 6 sigma, that means the cost of quality is less than 1% of total sales cost. In next slide, we will learn about components of. That means what are the components of CTQ? CTQ tree is built up with the following three main components to measure, to ensure you get a useful level of details. That means need, driver, requirement. Need is, it highlights the customer requirements and it is the origin of CTQ tree. For example, for a fast food restaurant, customers need is fast food. So here, what does your customer need? What does your product have to do or give them to your customer? Then driver are the parameters on which a customer judges the quality of the product. Then how you can track the driver, what is the important to the customer to satisfy their needs, then what qualities are important regarding the customer to their need. Then requirements, these are the measurable performance standard that have to be met by drivers to satisfy the customer needs, that is CTQ. It helps the business to measure the quality of a product or service that has made the client demand. So here is a CTQ tree model. That means the need converted into the drivers, then it converted into the critical quality requirements. That means need converted into the parameters on which the customer will judge, then the judgment converted into the measurable performance standards, that is critical to quality or critical to customers requirement. This is all about the components of the CTQ. In next slide, we will learn about how to draw critical to quality tree. Here, you have to identify the voice of the customer, then understand the customer requirement parameters, prioritize the parameters, then convert the customer requirements into critical to qualities that are measurable. And here, how to prioritize the parameters? You have to prioritize the parameters by using Kano model. That means you in x-axis you have to note down the what should be present and what should not be present, and in y you have to state not satisfied level to the satisfied level. Then you have to draw the lines of delighters, performance, and the basic requirements of the satisfier. So then, a small example of critical to quality tree. Let your client is pizza buyer, then the voice of collection method, customer collection method will be the survey. Then what is your voice of customer? That they need faster delivery. Then what is your critical to quality? That is preheated oven temperature is your critical to quality. Then operating definition means you have to maintain the temperature at a level of 350 degree Fahrenheit throughout the daytime. This is all about the critical to quality tree diagram. And then in next slide, we will discuss about some of the examples of. So CTQ example here, if your client requirement is the excellent service, they want excellent service. Then what are the drivers for this excellent service? The service technician should be friendly, knowledgeable employee, and timely service. And what are the service technicians friendly? Service technicians average a score of satisfied or above on customer evaluations. Then next point is service technicians have no more than 2 customer complaints about them in a quarter. Then knowledge or employees, it may be the company receives an overall customer satisfaction score of excellent on at least 70% of the evaluations. Service technicians average a score of satisfied or above on customer evaluation. Then how timely service converted into critical to quality, that is customers calls are returned same day, at least 90% of the same day. Field service teams arrive within quoted time window at least 90% of the time. Field service team arrive one site within 44 hours of original customer call. This is all about the critical to quality example. This is also available in Google also. In next slide, we will also learn. We will see an example of another example of critical to quality. This slide have already we have already mentioned in previous slide. Here the need converted into drivers and then customer requirements. That means harder to measure to easier to measure. This phase conversion happens in case of critical to quality. Here customer says I want good coffee. Then you have what are the drivers, that is taste, temperature, cost. Then what are the critical to quality requirement? That means measurable factors, that is not acidic rich, temperature should be greater than 60 or less than 80, and the price of coffee cup should be less than $3. This is all about the sample model of a critical to quality example. In next slide, we will learn about benefits of critical to quality. Critical to quality helps to identify the solitary needs of the individual client and recognize measurable performance requirements needed for specific client satisfaction. Then next benefit is critical to quality highlights any weak areas in an organization where performance is below standard and helps the to find out the root cause analysis. Then the third one is critical to quality helps in the quality improvement of a product or service. In next slide, we will learn about Cano model. So what is Cano model? The Cano model was published in 1984 by Dr. Nariaki Kano, the professor of quality management at the Tokyo University of Science. Kano says that a product or service is about much more than just functionality. It is also about customers' emotion. So constantly introducing new features to a product can be expensive and may just add to its complexity without boosting customer satisfaction. On the other hand, adding one particular attractive feature could delight customers and increase sales without costing significantly more. So he also says it is important to consider the nature of your business and the pace of change in your industry. Today's excitement attribute can very quickly become tomorrow's threshold attributes. For example, touchscreen technology in smartphone and tablets in an excitement attribute when it was introduced by Apple in 2007. But it soon became a threshold attribute as common to many electronic devices. These features are available in many devices later on. So before you apply Kanban model analysis, be sure to find out what your customers really value. Never assume that you know. Ask them what they like, what they love, and what they dislike. In next slide, we learn about how to draw Kano model. Here, a graphical representation of a Kano model, that is how to draw the customer satisfaction level, and in X we have to plot not present and what should be present, that is factors presence. In Y you have to jot down the not satisfied level to the satisfied level. In the green line shows delighters, the orange line shows performance level, and the red line shows what should be the basic requirements to satisfy the customer. The models assigns three types of attribute or property to the product and services. First one is threshold attributes, that is the basic requirement. These are the basic features that customers expect a product or service to have. For example, when you book into a hotel, you have to expect hot water and a bed with clean linen as an absolute minimum. Then what is next? The performance attribute, that is satisfiers. These elements are not absolutely necessary, but they increase a customer's enjoyment of the product or service. Example, returning to our first example, you had to be pleased to discover that your hotel room had free superfast broadband and on HD TV when you had normally expect to find paid for Wi-Fi and a standard TV. Then the third one is the excitement attribute, that is delighters. These are the surprise elements that can really boost your product's competitive edge. They are the features that customers do not even know they want, but are delighted with when they find them. The example, in your hotel room, that might be finding the complimentary Belgian chocolates that the evening turnaround service has left on the wait. This is all about how to draw Kano model. So in next slide, you will learn about 5 steps of Kano model. What are the 5 steps of Kano model? First one, brainstorm all the possible features and attributes of your product or service and everything you can do to please your customer. Second, classify these as threshold, performance, or excitement attributes and add a fourth type, not relevant. These are the things that do not add value because customers do not care about them. What is third one? Make sure that your product or service has all of the essential threshold attributes. If necessary, eliminate some of the performance attributes so that you can include these features. What is next? Assess the client excitement attributes and think about how you can incorporate some of them into your product or service. Again, if necessary, cut some performance attributes so that you can afford to invest in your excitement attribute. What is next? Last step of Kano model is choose the performance attribute that you can deliver at a competitive price while still maintaining an acceptable profit margin. So tips for Kano model is involve your customer in each of the 5 steps above. That way you get their insight all the way through the process. This is all about the critical to quality, how to draw the critical to quality, what is cost of quality, what is cost of poor quality, what is Kano model, and the example of CTQs we have learned in this session. In next session, we will learn about what is CIPOC and how you can draw CIPOC and whatever we have discuss in this session and previous session. This comes under your define phase of DMAC process. Thank you.